Pakistan, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't very nice. And I think in many respects, till today, we are suffering from that particular military dictatorship, which I think was one of the worst in our history. Anyway, so General Musharraf came to power in 1999, and that's about the time that I came back from college as a sort of idealistic young man, etc., wanting to change the world and thinking I was going to engage in a Che Guevara-style guerrilla war and just overthrow the state in a matter of a couple of years, and then everything would be great. Of course, when I came back to Pakistan and I started speaking against military dictatorship, there were no takers at that time. In fact, that was a very unpopular position to be upholding. A huge section of the Pakistani NGO community and what was considered the liberal intelligentsia was actually in favor of military rule in Pakistan, because they'd grown so fed up and tired of the corruption of the various democratic regimes, the constant infighting, the ineptitude, the inefficiency. All of those things were things that had resulted in significant disenfranchisement of people. So there were very few takers. And from 1999 to about 2005, really you could say that we were really what can be called those who were left out, because what we had to say really was not largely accepted by any substantial section of the population. Or if it was accepted by some people at least, they weren't at that time ready to do anything about it. People were too busy with their lives, etc. It wasn't a big priority. And so by 2005, I had grown, frankly, after many, 7 years of activism, I actually grew a bit weary, and I went to someone that I really respected. His name is Dr. Mubashir Hassan, who used to be the former General Secretary of the Pakistan People's Party and also Finance Minister in the early 1970s. And I said, Dr. Mub, because that's what I call him, I said, this is useless. I've been at it for 7 years. And what have I got to show for myself? 100 odd supporters, and basically I haven't managed to do anything. He said, well, don't give up hope. Let me tell you that when we were doing the same thing in the 1960s, till 1967, nobody could have imagined in the wildest dreams that there would be a mass movement against Ayub Khan in the next year. But that's what happened. I said, well, in my heart, I thought, Dr. Mubashir is just saying this to make me sort of, to keep me, going, etc. It's just a nice story. It's probably not true. Who knows? Anyway, having grown quite tired of all this activism, I decided, all right, let me pursue some of my academic concerns. So I decided to enroll in a PhD program at SOAS. And the minute I left Lahore for London, what happens when I leave? A lawyers' movement erupts. My friends called me up. I said, oh my God, we've been waiting for a movement against military dictatorship all this time. And now suddenly, as soon as I enroll in my PhD program and I leave the country because I'm tired after 7 years of struggle and there's nothing really happening, a movement erupts. And my friends are like, yes, and please stay there, because if you come back, who knows what's going to happen to the movement. So, you don't bring very good luck, so stay there. But as it turned out, that worked out quite well, because here in London, we were able to set up a solidarity group, and when, of course, after November 3rd, when the emergency was imposed and when media was blacked out, our group was the first group really to hold a demonstration in London outside of the Pakistani High Commission, and we kept that up. 4 times out of a week, we were protesting like crazy. I had basically thrown my PhD to the winds at that particular point in time, just whether it was snowing or hailing or fast winds or whatever was going on. There we were in the streets shouting slogans against military dictatorship and in favor of democracy, and of course also the restoration of the judiciary. And at these rallies, I used to, playing music has always been a hobby for me. So I used to, my student and I, Shara Mazhar, both of us really, but we used to chant these slogans in a very rhythmic style, right? And not only would we chant the slogans rhythmically, but then we would also sing songs, and which we've been doing for a number of years before as well. And those songs were so popular amongst people that there was a friend of mine, well, he became a friend afterwards, but there was a person named Taimur Rehman who was a documentary maker, British Pakistani documentary maker. He said, I want to do a documentary on your activism. I said, fine. He said, I'll follow you around, blah, blah, blah. So he said, you know, these are wonderful songs that you play at these demonstrations. Why don't you record them and put them up on the internet? And I'll help you do that. So we recorded our first track here in London, which was Habib Jalib's Mushir, Maine Usse Ye Kaha. Put it up on the internet and it was an instantaneous hit. And before we knew it, you know, we thought 500 hits ho jayenge, wow, that would be great, you know, 500 people will have seen our video. And before we knew it, you know, there were over 100,000 hits and just ballooned. It was the right time, it was the right song for that moment. And it got, you know, it captured the imagination of people. Then Geo Television contacted us and said, well, why don't you do an entire album? And I said, sure, give us the ticket. And so we went back to Pakistan. Where in the summer we were part of the long march and the, you know, weekly marches on Thursday, etc. And of course, singing and playing our music there and waving flags and raising slogans and so on and so forth. And recording the album at the same time. And so when we did that, our music then, of course, became